Hello everyone, my name is Alicia Jackson, licensed professional counselor, and welcome to my channel. Today we are going to talk about what healing can look like through the lens of internal family systems. If you are returning, welcome back. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now let's get started. Now, if internal family systems is something that is very new to you and you don't know what IFS is, that's okay. I'm going to give like a really brief description of what it is in this video. I do have some videos that are more at length describing IFS, so be sure to look out those if this like brief synopsis isn't clear to you. Okay, well, we're going to talk about what healing can look like through IFS. Oftentimes, there is a misconception that there's only like one part that's healing, which means when we get to the parts of us that are holding the pain, that are holding the trauma or the distressing events that we have experienced in our lives, that's where the healing happens. Like that is how we heal all of this. And I will offer to you that the entire process, the entire internal family systems process is healing. The whole process. And so, in short, talking about internal family systems, that we are all born with what we need. We're all born with what we need. And when life happens to us, when we experience pain or distress, and specifically when we deal with this pain and distress alone, like nobody walks us through it, we don't know what's happening, that's when we become very resourceful. Our body, our brain becomes very resourceful and find ways to make sure it doesn't happen again, or when it does happen, that the pain goes away. And what happens, these methods of protection that we have and we utilize, coming from, I'm saying, even the age of like infancy, that these methods of protection become a part of who we are. They're entrenched in our personality, in the way we see the world. They take up a lot of space within us. And that resource that we were born with begins to get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so, just the first process can be when we are learning, or when you're on your IFS journey or internal family systems journey, it's just becoming aware of the methods of protection that you've been using. That can be really healing, just in that sense of getting the clarity of like, oh, I do this because of this. Oh, I was dealing with this, and that's why I do that. And realizing that, oh, this isn't just all of me, this is just one part of me. Even coming to that realization can really bring healing. It can bring calm. It can bring so much balance into our system. It truly can. And so, what happens though? What happens before we start to become aware? Before we start to become aware of these methods of protection, that internally, these methods of protection are battling it out with each other. And who we really are, our highest form of self, is getting pushed out because they're fighting to be seen. They're fighting to be acknowledged. And so when we take the time, when our highest form of self takes time to be present for these parts of us, when a method of protection can say to us, when I was five, I spilled the milk. I spilled the milk and mom got really mad at me. She, her face that was usually happy, it turned just completely. And then her finger pointed in my face and she was just yelling at me. And I said, I can't ever disappoint her again. I can't ever make a mistake again. I can't. Right? That's that method protection shares its story. It builds its relationship with you. And as it's building its relationship with you and trusting you, also we get to update it. We get to update these parts. So let's talk a little bit about that, right? So we're using this 5-year-old part who doesn't want to disappoint mom anymore, and so must do everything perfect, because when I spilled the milk, oh, mom got green. It was scary. I just don't want that to happen again. When we say to this little one who's 5, who's still in that situation, still there, looking at the spilled milk, looking at mom, yelling, that we're not 5 anymore. They're like, we're not 5 anymore? Nope, we're not 5 anymore. And update them. And we're updating our parts from a space of not trying to impress them, not trying to change their mind, just give them information to do with it what they need to do with it. And it's going to take time, right? It's going to take time. And when you say, "Hey, I'm not 5 anymore. I'm 35. I'm 35 years old and I've done this. I've done all these things." They're like, "Wow." You can update them in whatever way feels right for you in your system. And again, this is something you will do with a IFS therapist or IFS practitioner. It's not something I would recommend you doing on your own. I know there are some people who say that you can do IFS work by yourself, and I do agree that that happens. And at the same time, at the very beginning of the stages of your healing journey, definitely having someone to be present with you while you're learning your system is so needed and beneficial and recommended. So as you're updating them, they get like, "Oh, okay," and then you're able to realize like they have you as a resource, right? Your highest self, they have you as a resource to be with them and to help them know that, hey, when we make a mistake, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And the more space as we continue to build these relationships, because the healing is in the relationship. That's where the healing is. When we build our relationships with these methods of protection that we have, then they realize like, "Oh, we don't have to work so hard. We don't have to work so hard. We can use her. We can use him as a resource. We can use them as a resource." And they will take up more space. This energy, you call it self energy, but our highest form of self, our highest sense of who we are, truly are, begins to take up more space. And those methods of protection that we use, they don't have to work as hard. They don't have to work as hard. They can relax. They can really relax. And when they can finally relax is when they allow us to be present for the parts of us that they've been protecting. So that 5-year-old, we're going to use that example, right? That 5-year-old part that doesn't want to disappoint mom. We have to do everything perfect. That method of protection, we must do everything perfect. It steps back and allows us to be present for that little one who spilled the milk and sit with them, hear their story, what that felt like, what meaning they took in from that experience. Listen, be open, right? And help them to release those thoughts, those feelings, those beliefs that they took in that weren't accurate. Release those into the wind, however they want to, right? Into a cannon, whatever feels right for them, okay? And help to really reconnect with us again. Again, the relationship, building that relationship with us. And that part, right, that method of protection that was working to protect that little one who spilled the milk. And now that they've released that, like, that all those beliefs and feelings from those experiences, they've let them go. They're no longer holding that pain anymore. They've let it go. That method of protection says, "Oh, well, now that little one's fine, I don't have to do this work of being perfect all the time. Yeah, I can. Hey, I will instead. I'll give us grace. I'll give us grace, and also, right, also help us to learn some ways to work through mistakes that we make." And I was like, okay, it's a new role. It takes on a new role, and that's what healing can really look like. The relationship is the key. The relationship we build with ourselves, again, becoming more aware of our parts and our methods of protection. Just becoming more aware. It's like, whoo. Then we hear their story. We get the clarity. That brings in so much calm. That energy, our truest self, starts to take up more room. More space within us. And there's not so much fear response, so much fight, flight, freeze, fawn happening internally, because they know that they're not in it by themselves. They have us now. They have us. We can be present with them. That's the healing. That's the healing. Know that we want to release, right? We want to release those beliefs, those thoughts, those feelings of these negative experiences or painful experiences that we have experienced. And that's not the only time that the healing happens. The healing happens all along the way, all along the way, all along the journey. All of this is healing. Just to know, like, oh, this isn't just one part of me. These are multiple parts of me. Oh, these are two warring parts, but oh, they actually both mean me well. They mean me well, and they can both sit here and coexist with me. They don't have to be at war. They could be at peace with each other. Like, all of that is healing. All of that is healing. And so I wanted to do this video because this was a question that was posed in a comment, and I wanted to do it via video because it felt like that was the best way to do it. Please let me know if there are any questions that you have following this video. But this is what healing looks like from the lens of internal family systems relationship. Us getting to know ourselves and building this relationship with the parts of us that have been working so diligently to look out for us and take care of us when we didn't know, right? Oftentimes we didn't know, right? That we needed all this help. We needed all this support, but they did. They did. And that's why it's so important to build these relationships, which is going to be another video coming soon, building relationships with our parts, what that can look like. But this is the healing process. Know that the whole journey is healing. And if you are still with us, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, be cool, be calm, be centered.